Big ideas start with a spark. At Tassi's, we use that spark to ignite the fire in ourselves and our kids. So with the trust we build and the knowledge we share, we can grow together and stand tall, creating opportunities to advance in business while setting an example for the next generation. Whether you are starting fresh in Portugal or expanding globally, we're here to support each other. This is more than a network. We are a community that sets the examples for the leaders of tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. So are there any specific developments in AI that you're particularly anticipating, be it in healthcare or teaching or any other field that you're involved in?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I actually run an AI-based company within the healthcare industry. So before it wasn't called AI, maybe 6 years ago, we talked about machine learning, OCR, large language models. Now it all enables into AI. But that is what I do on a daily basis. So yes, definitely, very much into it.
Right, industry secrets in a way then for specific developments.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So I understand that sustainability is very important to you. You're a chief sustainability officer at one company. You did a sustainability program at MIT. How do you reconcile that the importance of sustainability has to do with the projected and current negative environmental effects and impacts of AI?
Right. So sustainability is a very broad concept, such as AI, right? So what is sustainability? The idea is to take away the least resources from nature as you can and definitely not put any bad stuff within, right? So in order to achieve that, you need to optimize many things. For example, you're coming to school, right? If you come on your own with your own car, you're probably emitting the same CO2 as if you were in the same car with 5 other people, right? So optimizing that trip will allow for less CO2 to be within the air. And if, of course, unless you're driving electric vehicle, then it's even less. And then therefore be much more beneficial for the planet. So AI is a great catalyzer for sustainability. Actually, at the company where I lead sustainability strategies, I would say from the 150 plus initiatives we have, at least half of them are AI based. Why? Because it enables us to optimize many things, right? But you're right, on the other hand, AI consumes a lot of resources, especially from databases, right? Which need to be freshened out, and they use water. That's what they say, that every time you talk to ChatGPT, you're wasting 1 bottle of water. I'm not sure if that relationship is true, but I can tell you that it definitely happens. Not sure in how much proportion. So we also have to be very focused on what resources we're using and how to use them efficiently in order to optimize. So for me, what I think around sustainability, and not only environmentally, but also in the social aspect, in the governance and ethics, is we need to focus on doing things that have impact in our groups of interest with the least hurt and damage to the planet and the people that surround us. So it's okay. I work in healthcare, so healthcare is dedicated to helping people, right? It has a positive impact. But you can't imagine how much waste it is generated because I'm treating people. And on the other hand, imagine you would go to a surgery room and the doctor and the nurses that would be there helping out would have stained clothes. You wouldn't like that, right? So they have to take them away every time they see a new patient. So where to find the balance of, I want to give a positive impact, but then I have all this waste that is negative for the planet. How that is where we're now focused on. And there are, thanks to technology, many, many, many things happening that we're starting to embrace, but we're still very incipient in AI and all technology in general. So for example, this example we were talking about, what we do now, we bought this machine that is kind of a lixo in Portuguese, so it's kind of a bin where you take away your gown, put it inside, and that is automatically being recycled, sterilized, and a new sheet of paper, which is the gowns are made of this kind of paper, comes out to make a new gown. So technology is enabling this, but the pace that we need is so much slower than we would actually need. So yeah, we're in that where unfortunately every time we do activity, we're emitting, even when we run, when we jog. So yeah, would you stop jogging just because you're emitting more CO2 or not because it's good for your health? That is the way we have to interpret and go to what is harmful, but not what is beneficial.
Right, absolutely. You're trying to find the balance, like
Right,
within that,
exactly.
yeah. So you work in healthcare in many ways, and there are a lot of people who have concerns where when AI meets healthcare, it can make mistakes and it can do like real damage to actual people. Do you worry about potential negative effects of using AI in healthcare and the ethics of that?
Absolutely. This is one of the major things we're actually looking at. We're helping within the UN. We're actually in a group of work around ethical AI. So this is one of the concerns, definitely in healthcare. Why? Because autonomous is great up to a certain point, but I think that healthcare does need a lot of AI in optimizing and bringing faster diagnostics. The thing is that we still need humans to interpret them, right? So, for example, now we had just launched ChatGPT Healthcare and Claudebot Healthcare. So they just came out this month. This is really new. And it's great because I, as a parent, for example, I'm sure your parents had the same concern with you when you were younger. When you've got this high fevers and you're, I don't know, less than a year old, and you're really concerned about your child can't really communicate, and you're like, what should I do? Should I take my child to the emergency room? Should I do this? You always get the same answers when you call a doctor. So they tell you, okay, first get the fever done. If it persists for some time, then do this and do that. And that can be done by AI, right? The problem is that maybe that child has a history record that AI doesn't know. The doctor will ask you or will look at that record and give a recommendation, not only based on what you tell them, but also on what they know, right? And not because they know, but because they have a large language model network that can tell them, but because they know, because they have seen that child before. So that is where we have the danger of AI being autonomous completely. But I think, and I just actually answered this a few weeks ago, that there's two things where AI is helping a lot. First, it's in the anamnesis, which is when you come to a doctor's office or to emergency room, you always get asked the same questions. What happens is that many times people forget. So for example, I'm gonna give you an example of an older lady, right? So maybe she's 70 something years old. And so of course she's passed many things. And the doctor would usually, or even a nurse, do the triage. This is when they do the first, like, what's happening to you? And they will ask questions such as, do you take any medication? Many, many times, I would say 70% of the time, that person is going to tell you, no, not really. Why? Because they take a lot of pills, but they don't think it's medication. So then it's the work of that person to say, so you don't take any pills? Oh yeah, well, I take the one for the heart rate, and then I take the one for the blah, blah, and I take this one for this. That information is crucial because whatever you're going to tell that person to do or whatever the next actions are going to be depend a lot on what the behavior has been, right? So there needs to be a lot of digging in that. I think AI can do that fairly well because we've seen how well it engages with younger people, older people, and also in the identification of patterns. So for example, the first neural network, which is basically what you do is you feed a lot of information to a machine and teach that machine. So this is cancer, this is not, this is blah, 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 this is not. And that machine has a capacity of seeing stuff far better than any person. So just to give you an example, in a normal X-ray, and the human eye can detect up to 16 types of gray scale. A machine can detect up to 160. So imagine the potential of seeing an incipient cancer versus the human eye, right? So that is where we really have AI helping us. The problem is that when AI wants to be a doctor, I think we're not there. I'm not sure we're going to be there. We also need to touch, we need to feel, we need to sense, and AI is not there yet.
Good. And so when you're using AI to collect some of that information from patients, like you said, you're using right, like emulators of ChatGPT or Claude, and you don't have control over like some of the behind the scenes like coding and whatever to that. Do you worry that it can have delusions, it can make mistakes?
Well, of course, delusions are always a thing. For example, our solution is based on machine learning, but supervised machine learning. So we do have a high degree of autonomously in our solution, but there's always, when there's a little doubt, it always comes to a human. I think that's a perfect fit for healthcare, not sure around other industries. But for example, it always depends on how much you ask AI to do. So for example, in that sense, when you're asking for information, it's okay if it hallucinates because it's not giving a diagnostics. It's just asking questions and delivering information to a clinician. So then it's okay. Even if it hallucinates, which it wouldn't, because it's kind of obedient. Usually, technology, that's not going to happen. The problem is, and what's happened with Grok, with ChatGPT, when you're chatting to people and these people are telling you, hey, I want to commit suicide, and they're like, oh yeah, that's amazing, you could do it this way or the other. That is when because they are giving you a diagnosis, they are telling you what to do. Here they're just collecting. So the risks are very well measured. I would say they're the same risk as a human doing it, maybe missing a question, maybe not interpreting well the answer, but that happens with humans as well.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.